The Igbo man feel threatened anywhere he goes. In most of the places he goes, most especially in the north, anything that happens, he feels threatened. We're going to burn down your business. This is not your place. We'll send you away. With evidence, right? It has happened so many times. In short, even recently in Lagos, they seems to be having that as well, right? That is point agitation number one. Number two agitation is the fact that they feel that they don't need to go to Lagos to actually access seaport and have ease of doing business, and a lot of it. It would have been much more easier had it been them and the Niger Deltans are together and there's a seaport created there, right? Which is a fact, and of which I feel it would have been the best.
All right. So please, I want to beg us to take a little time and listen to this guy. Yes, he's a Northerner. I think he's an Hausa man. But in this video, he took time to explain the effect. Yes, the effect of the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. The effect of it on the Igbo people. You know, I tell you, I don't know why. Anything Nigeria they do and make it they affect the Igbos. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why. Now, do you know that we have 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria? And that 6 geopolitical zones that was created just a couple of years ago was created to marginalize the Igbo people. Oh yes. Let me read out that 6 geopolitical zones for you. They are North Central, Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, South-South, and Southwest. Now, North Central comprises of Benue, Kogi, Kwara, Nasarawa, Niger, Plateau, and the Federal Capital Territory, which is Abuja. Now, Northeast comprises of Adamawa, Bauchi, Borno, Gombe, Taraba, and Yobe. Northwest comprises of Jigawa, Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Sokoto, and Zamfara. Southeast comprises of Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo. South-South comprises of Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Cross River, Delta, Edo, and Rivers. Southwest now comprises of Ekiti, Lagos, Ogun, Ondo, Osun, and Oyo. Now, I want to ask a question. Why is it that in the Southwest, we only have one Southwest, which are the Yoruba people? Yes, but in the East is 2. And do you know that this Southwest, almost all of them practice the same culture? And in the Southeast and in the South-South, they almost practice the same culture, but they are divided into 2. Why? Why? Can you answer me that? And look at the names they mentioned in the South-South. Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Cross River, Delta, Edo, and Rivers. Do you know also that there are Igbo people, Igbo-speaking people in most of these communities they mentioned that are in South-South? Funny people. I tell you, I don't know what the Igbos has done to Nigeria. I don't know. So please, I'm not going to allow you to listen to what this guy said about these 6 geopolitical zones we have in Nigeria. Listen to it, then you drop your comment on the comment section what you think about this. We've been talking about this, but this time around, we are talking it in a different way. So please, listen to it, then you drop your own comment on the comment section what you think, please.
In my own opinion, I think that the 6 geopolitical zones that were created, I think by Abacha or who was it, I think it was a deliberate and calculated attempt aimed at containing the Igbos. That is my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. And let me explain further. You see, part of the basis, part of the reasons why the government gave at that point in time for the creation of these 6 geopolitical zones was the fact that it was not just created out of geographical locations, but based on the fact that people that were similar in culture and other things were brought together. So the question I begin to ask myself is, how is it that there's no similarity between an Igbo man and the Niger Deltans? You quite agree with me that there's similarity, right? And secondly, let's look at the creation. Why I say it's a deliberate move to contain them in one place is the fact that, look at the way they would have been privileged to the water if not for the fact that they were carved in the middle. If you look at it, you see they were carved in the middle, which deprived them of having a seaport. But when you look at places like Lagos now, Lagos is privileged to have that by virtue of the fact that it's close to the water. And funny enough now, you get to look at it that the seaports that are supposed to be viable in the Niger Deltas are not viable. Why are they not viable? You should answer that question to yourself. So if you look at it generally, there is a problem there. And funny enough, the Niger Delta seems not to be agitating for having these seaports. Why? Possibly because they are already rich in terms of the revenue allocation they get because they have oil. But another thing again is the fact that one of the main reasons why the Igbo man have to leave to places like Lagos is the fact that the Igbo man is a businessman. And there's ease of doing business since they are more into importing or whatever to come and reside in Lagos. But funny enough, this would have been made much easier had it been there's a kind of if the seaport in the Niger Deltas is viable, right? So, but you get to see that by the time the Igbo man complain of we need seaport now, they will say no, you don't have anywhere to have a seaport, right? And let's go to this other aspect. What are the major reasons for the agitation of an Igbo man in the country at the moment? We just need to do justice to that. One is the fact that the Igbo man feels threatened anywhere he goes. In most of the places he goes, most especially in the north, anything that happens, he feels threatened. We're going to burn down your business. This is not your place. We'll send you away. With evidence, right? It has happened so many times. In short, even recently in Lagos, they seems to be having that as well, right? That is point agitation number one. Number two agitation is the fact that they feel that they don't need to go to Lagos to actually access seaport and have ease of doing business, and a lot of it. It would have been much more easier had it been them and the Niger Deltans are together and there's a seaport created there, right? Which is a fact, and of which I feel it would have been the best. But in so doing now, I think it's going to make Lagos less effective, and at the same time, in short, it's going to make Lagos less effective. And I think that's why politically, consciously or unconsciously, that has remained for a very long time. But looking at it now, having said this, what is the way out? The way out still remains the fact that I think the Igbos need to work better with the Niger Deltans, because I see a lot of similarity, if not for political differences and a lot of other things born out of selfishness and born out of a creation that was actually designed to contain them. I think they will strive more better and they will agitate for all these things that can make their regions more viable. And second, another thing is we need to look at the landmass. One of the reasons why the Igbo man have to move to other places, a lot of places to do business as well, is the fact that he's deprived of the landmass. Generally speaking, if you look at the creation of the 6 geopolitical regions, you will get to see that it was just a calculated attempt born out of selfishness and born out of trying to contain a particular group of people not to be viable. So, but just like I said, I feel there is need for the Igbos to either work out their differences with the Niger Deltans, because while the fact is some of their differences seems to be stemming from the past history in regards the civil war that happened, but I feel everybody have made mistakes at any point in time, and they need to put aside differences and come together and fight for that. And I equally want to talk about the quality of the legislators, the lawmakers that are being pushed from these regions. I feel competent legislators should be pushed that can lobby and work with other people at the same time. So this is just my opinion generally, and I feel, well, there's more to this.
How do you build an economy when the smallest state by landmass that has the highest per capita income with the highest population, right, has the only functioning seaport in Nigeria, while everybody else is left to go home and die? It doesn't make sense. This is the reason why I'm saying to the president that it is economic injustice, and Nigeria is structurally, like skewed to favor Lagos economy, and this is the basic truth. The Calabar deep sea port draft has not been done. The documents at the ICRC has been cleared for Akwa Ibom deep sea port project in Ibom. Yeah, the federal government has sat on it, because if you look at the structure, 20% of the shares belongs to the federal government, 20% belongs to the state government, and 60% belongs to interested private sector investor. And that 60% was given as a 34-year concession, a PPP with Bolloré Logistics, like 2 or 3 years ago.
Have you ever asked yourself, why is it that there is no seaport in the southeast? There is no international airport as it is working in the west, in Lagos precisely. There is no big infrastructure in the southeast. Meanwhile, all these things are in the west, in Lagos. Let me shock you. Do you know that when it comes to landmarks in Nigeria, that Lagos is the smallest? Are you aware of that? Oh yes, you can Google it. Lagos is the smallest when it comes to landmarks in Nigeria. Yet, that smallest city is the city they want to load with everything. Excuse me. Seaport, international airport, everything, all the big factories, big industries, there. Have you ever asked yourself why? They said we are one Nigeria. So why is it that this oneness cannot extend to every other tribe and every other religion and every other, region? Why? Oh my goodness, Nigeria. Sometimes I sit down like this, I think about so many things that is happening in this country. I will say, God, I don't know how and why we ended up here. I don't know. We don't have any oil refinery here. We don't have any oil draining point here. We have oil draining point in Imo State, in Port Harcourt, in Rivers. Yet those places, the refineries, they are not working. Just to fix them, like the one in Port Harcourt, we have a refinery there just to fix it. The government couldn't fix it. Instead, what they did was to bring trillions of dollars to come and build another new one in the West. In Lagos, we are still talking about. Why I'm bringing all this for you? These are things that are happening, so I don't think I'm manufacturing anything from my head. These are things. There is the largest refinery in Africa is in Lagos now. No, it's Dangote refinery. Say they lie. So why I'm bringing all this for you is for you to know what is happening. Oh yes, it's for you to know what. And when people begin to agitate, they will say, why are they agitating? Please take a little time. Watch this analysis our brother gave on Channels Television. Please watch it, because maybe it will also, make you to understand some of the things that is happening. And then after watching it, you drop your own comment on the comment section, what you think about it.
Why is the federal government not putting as much effort in making sure that they start building Akwa Ibom deep sea port like they did for Lekki deep sea port in Lekki Free Trade Zone? And now the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy is saying that they are going to cut investors, and they are doing drawings to see that they start Bakassi deep sea port. How can Lagos have 3 functioning seaports with a 4th one in the works, and every other place is languishing? How do you build an economy when everything is centered around Lagos? Is it because the Lagos establishment is afraid that if there is an operational seaport in the eastern maritime flank, which geographically is better for maritime operations, you're going to have diversion of port operations from the southeast, the south-south, the northeast to Akwa Ibom? Is it because they're afraid of revenue losses? It doesn't make any sense. We have to say the truth to power.
Kevin, you're right. We have to say the truth to power. And thank you for doing that as well. And you know, yesterday you put out a series of tweets highlighting these issues regarding the Calabar seaport. But you also stated in your tweet about the fact that the southeast is the only region in the whole of Nigeria that doesn't have a high pressure transmission pipe for gas running through it. I'd love for you to highlight that as well. And now you've asked the federal government to decentralize port operations to the Eastern Maritime Corridor, so that the Southeast and the Northeast can benefit. Now, why do you believe that this has been so difficult to achieve?
Oji, it's interesting you ask this question, and the reason I don't know what the Southeast Governors Forum are doing. I don't know what they discuss when they meet, but there are critical areas that we must address, and we must bring to the table as soon as possible. The Southeast, yes, is the only region that does not have a high pressure gas transmission pipe to take natural gas through it. You have the AKK, the Ajaokuta, Abuja, Kaduna, Kano. There is a part, the second phase of that AKK that goes to Gausu in Zamfara. Now, in that AKK, you have pressure metering and reduction stations in Gwagwalada for Abuja, you have in Kaduna, you have in Kano, and then you're also going to have in Gausu when the second phase starts. That AKK is what the government hopes to extend for transnational gas pipeline through Niger Republic to Algeria, even if I don't think that will be feasible because of the lack of diplomatic relationship between Niger Republic and the Nigerian government in Abuja. Okay? The Southeast does not have a pipe that runs through it, despite the fact that Abia State produces a lot of natural gas. In 2007, Ibe Kachuku designed the Nigerian Gas Master Plan, and in that master plan, he put a 121-kilometer pipe that is supposed to extend from Aba to Owerri, to Enugu, to Onitsha, and then to Nnewi. The government says that no, they want to do a TNGP pipe extension from Abia State to Ajaokuta, and the second phase is going to go from Abia State to Enugu to Ajaokuta. That is going to take gas away from the Southeast, not through the Southeast. You need a pipe that extends that, because you need gas for glass fabrication, you need gas for urea, you need gas for power. 40% of the gas that is typically produced every day, either through associated gas that you get when you drill crude oil, yeah, or through non-associated gas fields, it's used for electricity. So how do you want to increase generation and increase feedstock to the gencos in the Southeast if you don't build a high pressure transmission pipe? Whose responsibility is it to make sure that this happens? It's the Nigerian Gas Infrastructure Company, which is a subsidiary of the NNPC group. So my question to the management of NNPC is, why have they refused to commission FID for gas pipes to the Southeast? Why has the Southeast Governors Forum not gotten into a meeting with the president to ask him why the region does not have a gas pipe that runs through it? What exactly is wrong that it seems that there is like a calculated power share between the Northwest and the Southwest, and until every other region in Nigeria gets permission from the Northwest and the Southwest, nothing happens in their region? It doesn't make any sense. How can Mr. President be talking about renewed hope and economic transformation and increase in the per capita income of Nigerians and prosperity for Nigerians, about building a $1 trillion economy, when everything is centered around Lagos? Somebody imports a 40-foot container from Guangzhou to Lagos, and it will cost him 5 or 6 million naira to truck it to Aba, and you don't expect that he's going to pass on that inflation cost to the people, considering the fact that we don't have standard gauge rail lines that extend horizontally from the southwest to the southeast. It's marginalization, economic marginalization, and we have to speak truth to power.
can come in here, Mr. Kevin, and you have touched on very salient points this morning. But if we focus on how to decentralize these port operations, with port activities concentrated in Lagos, Nigeria is still facing issues of congestion, of inefficiency, and like you even said, increased costs of doing business, because at the end of the day, it's the consumer who bears the brunt of what's currently happening. So when we look at why decentralizing the port operations across the country, including strategic seaports like Calabar, Warri, remaining a persistent challenge, what are those systemic reforms? What are those infrastructural investments that are necessary to make this decentralization a reality?
I'll tell you what. Well, one of the reasons why house rent has been skyrocketing in Lagos, which also contributes to inflation that you have in Lagos, is because demand is higher than supply of houses in Lagos. Lagos is creating, there isn't enough infrastructure to accommodate the population, and that's because you've centralized the entire Nigerian economy. The contribution of Lagos to real GDP is 23%. Lagos State's FAC to IGRA ratio is 22% to 78%, which means 78% IGR, 22% FAC. Lagos State generates 26% equivalent. Lagos generates revenues equal to what 26 states in Nigeria generates. 26 states in Nigeria, which means Lagos is the most viable economy. Okay? If you want to decentralize port operations, I'll give you an example. The proposed capex for the Ibom Deep Sea Port is $4.6 billion. The share capital contribution of the federal government is about $920 million. The capital contribution of the Akwa Ibom State government is about $920 million. The capital contribution of the private sector investor, which was Bolore, that got a 34-year concession for the ports to build, operate, and manage, is $2.7 billion. How do you raise financing for the project? Afrexim will gladly put up counterparty funding for this Akwa Ibom State government. Akwa Ibom State government can go to the debt capital markets and raise a state government bond to finance its own share. Akwa Ibom State government has a lot of liquidity because it has 13% derivation. It has a huge share from FAC because it's an oil-producing state. The federal government can also get Afrexim to finance its own side of the capital contribution for the project. These are the kind of projects that the government is supposed to borrow for, not to borrow to refinance existing debts, or to borrow to pay salaries, or to borrow to fund the expensive lives of politicians in Abuja. You invest in capital projects that will generate revenue and create jobs for the people and improve their standard of living. So if you're asking me how we can decentralize port operations, I'm giving you a practical example of a seaport in the Eastern Maritime Corridor that can improve trade and can help to decongest Lagos. The Akwa Ibom Deep Seaport, by the way, has a shore to sea that is 16 kilometers. It's the shortest distance to deep sea in the whole of Nigeria. Shorter than Lagos, shorter than what you have in Lekki, shorter than Apapa, shorter than Tinkan, shorter than the proposed Badagry Deep Seaport. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what. With the tension in the Middle East, you saw what happened to the aircraft, the Azerbaijan aircraft that flew through the Black Sea and was shot down by Russian defense missile. The Black Sea is close to maritime operations. The Suez Canal is also closed. A report came out last week that says Egypt has lost $7 billion in 2024 because of the issues in the Middle East, because of Yemeni terrorists, because of Iranian militias that are causing havoc to commercial vessels. Vessels that are coming from Southeast Asia are diverting all through the Cape of Good Hope down to South Africa. And then they turn back either into Western Europe, to South America, or to North America. In fact, Afrexim early this year and late last year commissioned a study, an internal study, to find the number of bunkering hubs in South Africa. Bunkering hubs are basically like terminals within ports that helps you to refuel and repair ships. They didn't find enough bunkering. I think there are maybe 2 operational bunkering hubs in the whole of that eastern down to the southern hemisphere of South Africa, of Africa. Now, if that Akwa Ibom deep sea port is allowed to operate, you can basically build a bunkering hub into it for ships that come through the southern maritime flank, South Africa, the Cape of Good Hope, to sail all the way to Nigeria, refill, do any repair or maintenance before they proceed on their own onward journeys to Western Europe or to North America. The problem we have in Nigeria is that we don't have foresight. We bicker over the most mundane issues that doesn't affect the long-term prosperity and growth of the economy. The national debate is weak, it's shallow. There are critical issues we have to handle, and seaport operations is one of them, because you have governors going around telling you, oh, Kogi State got an approval to build an airport. An airport is not as consequential to an economy as a seaport. And if we don't tackle critical infrastructure, we're only going to keep dreaming and wishing.
All right. Wetin man go do now? Please do well to drop your comment on the comment section what you think, all right? I'll see you in my next video. There are so many updates for me to share with you. Thank you very much, and God bless you.